Okay. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, as people are logging in. My name is Aaron Dworkin. I'm the CEO of the National Summer Learning Association, NSLA, and we are really excited to welcome everyone who's coming on to be part of our annual Summer Planning Boot Camp. It's today for 2 hours and tomorrow for 2 hours as well, from 1 to 3 Eastern Time. And we have so many people, more than 1,000 plus people have signed up who are getting excited to plan their programs to help kids, help families, help their schools, communities this summer. And we want to support you by highlighting all these amazing partners and resources that are available to support you. And there's a lot going on. We have to just say thank you to a lot of our partners who have made this possible. You're going to hear from almost 30 great speakers in the next 2 days. We have 3 panels today, 3 panels tomorrow on hot topics, but we are able to make this possible thanks to our support from AT&T and their Achievery program, Discovery Education, Hoot, Mesh Ed, Scholastic, STEM Next, ProSolve, and we also know the Mott Foundation, Nemours Children's Health, and the Wallace Foundation. So this is an offering we do at no cost. We know that there are a lot of great conferences happening right now. We run one during the fall as well, where people have to travel and pay for registration, but not everyone can access those kinds of training. So we wanted to make sure this one was available to everyone and was made possible with these supporters. I also just want to thank the staff we're making time, the presenters we said, and all the different partner organizations you're going to hear from who are also sharing resources with you. And what we talk about at NSLA is the need to have summer opportunities for all kids, regardless of background, income, zip code. We want everyone to have amazing summers. If you add up all the summers between the summer before kindergarten to your last summer before you graduate college, possibly, that's almost 4 years of extra learning opportunities that can impact someone's life. And they're really critical. And some kids get them, not everyone does. And we want to make sure everyone does. Something you're going to hear about in one of our first panels is NSLA has teamed up with two partners, both the American Camp Association and AASA, the Superintendents Association, and then the Gallup polling company to release two reports in the last year. One, a parent survey on how many kids are in summer programs and why, and some of the obstacles. And we learned from this first report, it was a nationally representative survey, that of 54 million kids in America, kindergarten through 12th grade, who are in school, 55%, 30 million, were in structured, organized summer program opportunities that can include summer jobs as well. And of that 30 million, 67% were middle and higher income kids whose families and who could afford to pay to participate, and about 10 million low-income kids on the free and reduced lunch program. 38% were in those kinds of programs. One of the goals of NSLA is to close that gap. We think that's something very solvable we could do with you and do together. And by adding 7 million more low-income kids, we can shrink that gap. But one of the other interesting points that came out of the Gallup data was the notion that 72% of kids are in programs. We love our school partners, but 72% of kids are in programs not in school buildings. That's all the community groups, nonprofit programs, university, museum, anything, that all these other opportunities that take place. So we got to meet kids where they are in all these different ways. And then the second report that came out that you can find more information on our website and we'll share in the next few days is a Gallup survey of superintendents. And they noted that, first of all, 90% of them that we surveyed made summer a huge priority and want to continue making it a priority. And a little more than 80% said even though that the Emergency American Rescue Plan money has expired, they're still going to make a commitment to that. And I finally just want to note, this week marks the 5-year anniversary of the COVID-19 shutdown of our schools, of our country, of our economy. And when that happened in March 2020, everyone came together however they could to focus on kids. They wanted to make sure that every kid had a summer opportunity to help catch up, keep up, and propel forward for the next school year. And that momentum is something that we've built on. We have a lot of great learnings from that, and we think we can do more. And one of the things that came out of that was that when in a world where sometimes people don't always agree and there's a lot of polarization, a lot of gridlock, one thing most people can all get together around is helping kids. And that's what we're here to do. I'm very honored to share now the floor with Broderick Clark, our VP of Programs and System Quality, who knows more about how to help kids in a good way. And we thank you for doing that for the kids in your programs. Broderick, I'll throw it to you for our first panel.
Thank you, Aaron. I appreciate you, brother, without question. Appreciate that welcome and doing a little bit of level setting there as well. So I appreciate that. Once again, I'm Broderick Clark, Vice President of Programs at the National Summer Learning Association. And I'm so happy. You can probably see it on my face. I'm so excited to be on this call with each and every one of you today, without question. We want to welcome the more than 1,100 folks that took the time to go to the registration page and register for this experience. And we look forward to connecting with each and every one of those individuals on the next series of calls between today and tomorrow and beyond that for sure. We know that folks are getting ready for your summer programs right now. You know, I remember when September clicked over, we say summer starts in September all the time. I know you put the flag in the sand and you've begun your planning process. So for the next 2 days, you're going to connect to resources to continue to do just that. And I know some of y'all might be paging through your Summer Starts in September guide from back in the days, but we have a new one, and super excited to present that to you all on this call today. And these resources that we're going to present are going to include strategies as well as tips, resources, ideas, and so much more. As I reflect on last year's, I got some stuff I'm still wrestling with, some stuff I'm still trying to incorporate into my practice. And so welcome. We're proud to, to connect you to a new resource, Destination Summer Learning. I know the background is up there, so I'll try to get that in the camera there for a second. But it's a guide that really inspires innovation. You know, we have some great, amazing programs out there. You don't have to look past our Summer Learning Award winners from, thanks to the New York Life Foundation for supporting that. But it just shows that we have many examples of great practices out there. But even those folks are grabbing their summer learning, destination summer learning guides and embracing, innovation. How do we tweak and modify what's going on so that young people have a more relevant experience? We've connected with our friends at PAIR, Partnerships in Education and Resilience, and have incorporated the Clover model all throughout. This essential workbook is going to help you to create high impact programming that's research driven and evidence-based. Inside of this guide, you're going to find a wealth of resources from evidence-based strategies to real world examples, profiles and excellence, where again, I talked about those folks that received our Summer Learning Award. And they speak about what they did, how they did it, why they did it. And so it's great to have that right at your fingertips. It's an essential workbook it's going to continue to ground us in making sure that what we're doing, how we're doing it, and why we're doing it is driven by research and evidence. We hope that you leverage this powerful guide and all the tools that exist within it to plan every detail of your program, making sure that's an intentional experience that's engaging and relevant for our families. It's ideal for program leaders, folks that you might have just gotten your first leadership post and your first job is to run the summer program in 2025. I've been there before and can tell you how I wish there was a guide, something, a book, a playbook, something I can grab onto so I don't have to reinvent, something that's going to spark continuous ideas. Turning my vision for what summer can look like, hopefully marrying that vision with a vision that the young people come to the table with to create growth, fun, and unforgettable learning. It's important that we plan early. Summer starts in September, and I say quality, you say matters. So quality definitely matters for sure. And we know what happens when you plan poorly. We don't want poor performance, so we want to make sure that we plan early. Developing a successful program requires intentional strategic planning at all levels. A thoughtful preparation ensures that programs are engaging, impactful, and aligned with what students' needs, wants, and desires are. While early planning is ideal, it's never too late to start. I know some folks might have been waiting a little bit, but if you haven't started, now we can put your flag in the sand and get started today. That's what this summer planning boot camp is all about. It's never too late to start. So take the time by making sure that your program has a defined, clear purpose and a set of achievable goals, like goals that you actually sat down with your team and thought about, made sure they were SMART goals, specific, measurable, realistic, attainable, time-bound, all that goodness. And recruit young learners to co-create that experience alongside the adult facilitators. This lays the foundation for your ultimate success. We want to make sure that we made sure that our partners at PAIR ensured that there were research-driven strategies and practical tools. I can't tell you how many times people go to trainings and say, I just wish I had something that I can take out of this guide and book and turn it around, turnkey and implement it. And it's clearly there in the pages of this guide. The guide is grounded in proven evidence-based practices and enhances the quality and impact of summer learning programs. And I'll add out of school time, by the way. NSLA's collaboration with PAIR ensures that the recommendations are backed by research and tailored for real-world application. Let me say that again, real-world application. So this is just not the theory hanging out at 36,000 feet. These are things that you can use in real-world application. So program leaders are going to find those valuable resources, including adaptable examples, which is important. That local context matters. Context matters for sure. So to be able to take those examples and adapt them locally, and it can fit a variety of different contexts. Investing in thoughtful planning with the right resources like this guide can elevate your summer program, making it just a good program. Is anybody just satisfied with just running a good program? Are we going to stop there? Absolutely not. Our families deserve to have a highly qualified individual that has the knowledge, skill, and competency to serve them at a high level, because that's what families deserve. And so we're going to make sure that we leverage this guide in that context. In the coming weeks, I'm going to take some of these words on the road, which I'm super excited about. We want to make sure that we're providing a resource, but we're also bringing it out. So it's the Get Ready for Summer tour. We're taking the guide out to various spaces and places, maybe in a city near you, beginning as early as next week, March 19th in New York. I'm headed out to Oakland, Lansing, Oregon, all that. We want to make sure that folks get connected to the guide, understand the contents of the guide at a deep level, and to learn how they can continue to partner with us to go wider and deeper with their staff's understanding that the book is written. It's not the end all, the be all. There's a lot of things we can add to supplement this, but there's a lot of goodness in here. And so I want folks to understand what's in there, how they can leverage it. And so rather than talk about it in these contexts in electronic form, super excited to go out and bring that out to folks. We've defined the 5 elements in the sessions, and they're designed to go deeper on each element. So we begin with the big picture, understanding the landscape for summer learning. In panel 2, we're going to focus on learning and engagement in summer programs. Again, this follows all the elements that exist in our guide. The third panel that we have is going to dive into leadership and staff development, recruitment, training, and PD, professional development. And of course, when we resume tomorrow at 1 Eastern Standard Time, we start with a special performance by a gentleman that I just met up in New York City at the Pace Center Awards with our partners up at Pace, Dialect, who's a hip hop MC, theater maker, educator, creative, brother from another mother, I'll say, in that light. And then we have panel number 4, which is about community partnerships, building together to meet community needs. Our 5th panel is all about data collection, and of course, quality matters. So how do we continue to put those building blocks together for success? And we end on how summer programs can uniquely and powerfully encourage innovation and connection in communities. And you heard me say before, that connection over content. Content is important, but how do we encourage innovation with that content and ultimately making connections with young people and families? And so I thank every single one of the folks that are on this call today. I thank you for your passion, your presence, your energy on this call. Hopefully that excitement permeates this whole process that we have together over the next 2 days. And we leverage all the resources that we gather over the next 2 days to run these vibrant, creative, incredible spaces where young people get to self-actualize. So we've got a lot to cover. So I'm gonna stop talking there and go ahead and get us started. I get the honor and privilege of sharing this microphone with some awesome humans over the next couple of days. And so at this point, I wanna open the microphone to Christina Russell of Policy Studies Associates, a longtime partner of NSLA, will be the moderator. Christina?
Thank you, Broderick, for that introduction and overview of the boot camp. Like Broderick said, I'm Christina Russell with Policy Studies Associates. We're a research evaluation organization. And I also have the honor of leading the NSLA Research, Evidence, and Practice professional learning community, which is always open for all to join who are interested in the intersection of research and practice and evidence. And I'm really honored today to kick off the NSLA Summer Planning Bootcamp with a session on what we know from current research. We know that summer learning's at a point of inflection in terms of the funding context, the policy context. And at the same time, there's been significant growth and learning over the past few years. Lots of new studies coming out. Erin previewed and referenced some of those. And in this conversation, we're going to dive into what we're learning about summer priorities and the impact of summer at all different levels of the system, from states to districts, community organizations, and families, and really thinking about what we're learning from this research that can help inform your summer planning, your summer programs. So really excited for this conversation, and I'm gonna go ahead and introduce our three panelists to join me on stage. Andrea Ash from Gallup, Adenike Huggins from National Urban League, and Julie Fitz from Learning Policy Institute. If you want to join the conversation, come on screen. There we go, getting people to join us. Welcome, everyone. We have Julie. All right. Said, you know, we've been learning a lot. You've all been engaged in important work and research. Excited to share that today. I'm just going to start off our conversation with, based on your work and what you've been learning, what should the program leaders who are joining today really know about the current policy context and the priorities for summer learning? And I think we're going to start with Julie to talk a little bit about what we know from the state perspective in your work.
Great. Well, thank you, Christina, and thank you to the whole NSLA team for having us here to share some of our recent work. So I'll speak to the state policy context. In the report that my team at the Learning Policy Institute recently published, we were examining how 9 different states that have political and geographically diverse contexts are currently supporting summer learning. And we learned quite a bit about state perspectives towards summer right now. So one thing to note is that state governments are coming out of a period where they had a lot of federal funding for summer learning because they were required to set aside at least 1% of their ARPA ESSER funds for this purpose. That funding has now sunsetted, which means that in many places there will be less state level funds available for summer 2025, and that there's going to be a bit of vying for funding within state education agencies. And the takeaway here is that as providers, it's going to be really important to think about how you can make a strong case about the value add of your programs for a state level audience. So the good news here is that what we were seeing in our research is just the fact that states had funds targeted towards summer these past years has really brought a lot of state level attention to the positive role that summer can play in supporting other state policy priority areas. So one common priority is, of course, supporting ongoing academic recovery. As recent NAEP data has shown, there's still student achievement has not quite bounced back to pre-pandemic levels. So it's really likely that many states will continue to want to leverage summer as a time for extended learning. But it's really also worth highlighting that we were seeing in many states that they were valuing summer programming for a broader set of reasons. So one example is that schools continue to grapple with chronic absenteeism, which is also higher than pre-pandemic levels. And some of the states that we studied were really valuing summer programming for its potential to re-engage students, both socially with their peers and adults in their community, but also in terms of providing academic enrichment or career development opportunities that could kind of re-spark their interest in learning, with kind of the ultimate goal of increasing attendance during the school year as well. In other states, state level folks were thinking about summer programming as a really important support for working families, by giving them a place that their kids can be safe and cared for, and nurtured during the summer months. And that was another motivator for some of the state level investment that we were seeing. And there's lots of other examples. Lots of states are thinking about health and wellness for young people and many other things. So the great thing is that summer programs can really be framed up as a solution for a lot of different state level problems, which is really important to understand for advocacy purposes. And in a time where there's a lot of unknowns at the federal level, it's going to be important for providers to understand the goals within their own states and state departments of education, so that you can effectively communicate how your programs are supporting these priorities.
Thank you so much for that overview from the kind of that state policy context and where the commitment is and the priorities from states. Andrea, do you want to talk a little bit about what we're learning from the district level from some of your superintendent work?
Yes, I am so excited to share a data set that comes from the National Superintendent Summer Survey, previewed by Aaron just a little bit ago, a study conducted by NSLA, the AASA, the School Superintendents Association, in partnership with Gallup. It's hot off the presses, actually. You're getting a little bit of a sneak peek. The data releases next Tuesday officially, and it's a really timely look at what district leaders are thinking about this current school year, how they're thinking about summer learning in 2025, and how they're adapting to that changing landscape that Julie was talking about. In terms of what to know about the current policy context and district leaders' priorities for summer learning, we heard a really strong message from district leaders that they see summer learning programs as essential for long-term student success, and also that these programs are part of their broader educational strategy as a district. So 91% of superintendents say summer programs are important to reaching their district goals. And because these programs are so important to their goals, they also told us that they're prepared to dedicate spending to these initiatives. 82% of district leaders plan to maintain or even increase their summer learning spending in 2025, even as those federal funds continue to decline. So I want program leaders to know that district leaders can be in their corner. District leaders overwhelmingly value summer learning. 91% say it's important to their district goals, which is a huge number, and they're committed to finding that funding that's needed to support those programs.
Great, thank you. And then let's turn to bring in the community perspective. Adenike, if you want to share a little bit about what you're learning from the National Urban Lake work.
Sure. So from a community perspective, it's definitely important to highlight the fact that many of our affiliates, of which we have 92, run summer programming. And they also serve as community hubs for other programs that might also take place within those communities. One of the things that we learned from COVID is that maintaining the connections by any means was necessary. And so at National, we actually started up a youth council that was virtual during the pandemic. And even 5 years later, it's still going strong. This was something that we did not think would outlast the pandemic, but there is still an interest to build community in these virtual spaces for these young people to demonstrate, learn, and also fail at leadership in a safe and supportive environment. But I think that the both our affiliates as well as the communities they serve are eager for these opportunities for young people. We don't have all of the solutions. I think that there's a real need for partnership when it comes to programming, when it comes to the types of experiences and opportunities that young people and their adult mentors are engaged in, and really making sure that it speaks to the needs, the present needs of young people. We've been hearing over the last 3-4 years that they want to continue to have conversations about mental health supports, and that can be in traditional educational settings or in community settings as well. So what we see is an intergenerational approach to this that involves everyone and really values the expertise and background of not just the adults, but certainly centers the young people in this conversation as well.
Thank you. I think this is a really important way to kick off the conversation, to really think about that big picture context of how all of the different players and stakeholders in the field can really come together and are thinking about the work around summer learning. And I think for the next question, I'd like to transition a little bit into what does this mean in terms of practical strategies and in terms of what's being delivered and how that work is being supported in the field. And I'm going to turn it back to Andrea to kick this piece of the conversation off in really thinking about what you also have learned from the family perspective about where summer priorities are and what they're looking for to get their students engaged in over the summer that programs can learn from.
Yeah. So the study of district leaders is actually the second study in a series. The first that we conducted was a study of families to better understand exactly that question, conducted by NSLA as well as the American Camp Association, to understand how children are spending their summers, what parents think of those experiences, what barriers parents are facing, and what they want out of those summer programs. I just want to highlight that it was a nationally representative study using Gallup panel, which is probability based, which means that the estimates that we have are some of the best out there in terms of what American parents think about these topics. And so if our attendees today are looking for really robust numbers, I'm excited to be able to provide that to them. And we heard from over 6,500 parents as well, which is incredible. So in terms of what, not just what parents want, but what they really need as well. To set the stage, about 55% of parents overall tell us that their child participated in a structured summer learning program the prior summer. But in terms of what they need, one of the most striking things to emerge is something that I think many folks have seen firsthand. Children in lower income households are much less likely to have had access to those important summer learning opportunities. Let me give you the numbers on that. 67% of children in higher income households participate in structured summer learning programs, but just 38% of lower income children in lower income households do. So that's almost a 30-point gap. As you might guess, affordability is one of the biggest barriers that parents face in terms of getting their children to these summer learning programs and into the programs that they want to attend. When we put the numbers together, this means that nearly 1 in 3 parents, 32% of parents in the US, had to limit their child's participation because of the cost of a summer program. On a lighter note, I did want to share, Christina, that in terms of what parents want, we also heard their number one goal for their child's summer activities is to have fun. 1 in 5 said it was their top goal for their child's summer learning. Half said fun is in their top 3 goals. And I think it's interesting, we actually asked district leaders the same question as well. Their number one goal was improving academic skills. So we know summer learning programs have a lot to offer. They offer all of these things. I think that the challenge might be to make it clear how those offerings apply to so many stakeholders. So parents can see that a program offers that fun, district leaders can see those amazing benefits for academic skills, and just how everybody can benefit from those strong partnerships.
Thank you. And I think that finding that balance of the fun and of the learning is really the magic of summer programs and the magic of
That's right.
summer learning, and what folks are going to be learning a lot about and thinking about throughout this boot camp, I'm sure, and really where programs really focus on finding those benefits for both and really creating engaging experiences that children want to come to. Adenike, do you want to talk a little bit more about what that might look like, where the role of community organizations, community partners can really come into play in that delivery of these engaging programs?
Sure. So as I mentioned before, many of our affiliates do run their own summer programming. For example, the Urban League of Springfield in Massachusetts has Camp Atwater, which is the oldest African American and longest running sleepaway summer camp. Our other Springfield, Illinois affiliate also does Camp Nkiru. So we know that our families are really looking for safe, supportive environments that also are culturally responsive, especially at a time like we are in now, where young people are really trying to make sense of themselves in the world, their multiple identities, and places where they can be affirmed and learn more, especially when we're talking about book bans and things like that, I think are really, really important. And of course, cost is a huge factor, based on what Andrea said. It's important that we're making these opportunities accessible financially for parents, because if we realize that summer is part of the ongoing learning and development that all young people need to thrive, then it shouldn't just be an optional thing and based on whether or not you have money or a family has the means, but really a requirement and a necessity for optimal growth in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Really thinking about how to be strategic, making sure you're offering those the free programs, the engaging programs that set students up for success. And I'm wondering, Julie, where's the role of states in providing that? What are the levers that states have? How can programs really draw on the resources and guidance that are available to them to help implement these high quality programs?
Yeah, so I'm sure it's not surprising to hear that the role of states really varies. And at this time, there are lots of opportunities for states to learn from each other about how to effectively support summer learning providers and promote access. We're in a bit of a transition period here where states are beginning to do more than just administer federal funding streams, which has been closer to their role in the past. There are numerous states that have developed or are in the process of developing greater supports for summer programming, extending beyond these ESSER funds. Obviously, one of the major things that we studied in our report was state grant programs. These are great sources of support for providers that can help them expand access to their programming, address barriers like cost, and I saw in the chat transportation. So these are huge supports. They don't exist everywhere. One other thing that we saw that states were doing to support planning and implementation is actually collecting and communicating the research evidence about how to design and implement effective summer programs. So at this point, there's a lot of evidence that both academic and enrichment-focused summer programming can really produce quite a few different positive outcomes for students who participate. And this is particularly the case when programs are well designed, they're well attended, and they're supported by high quality instruction. So in the 9 states that we studied for our report, what we saw was that all were issuing some form of research-informed guidance that was designed to help providers improve in these areas and expand their capacity in these areas. So for instance, we saw states issuing recommendations about program design, guidance on how to promote and maintain student attendance over the course of programming, and then also advice on how to deliver really impactful instruction and select strong curricular materials to accompany it. This guidance also touched on many other things that matter to providers, such as how to communicate with families and develop relationships, how to partner with local organizations to expand capacity for kids, and even in some cases, how to identify available funding streams that can support programming and expand access. In a couple of cases, these guidance documents also included things like planning checklists and template documents that can help take some of the burden off of providers to build this material from scratch. So from what we were seeing, helping providers deliver high quality programming can be a really impactful role for states to take on. And like I said, there's lots of opportunities from states to continue learning from each other in this area.
Thank you all for sharing this summary and expertise. And I also just want to play that in the, you'll have access to all of these resources, and some of the links are already being put in the chat. But as we start to wrap up this session and move on to the next session in Bootcamp, wanted to have an opportunity. So we want everybody to leave with sort of practical information and concrete resources that they can use in their planning. And so once these there out of the resources that you're flagging, that you've been talking about during these sessions, like what's one thing that you would each want to leave behind and really highlight as a resource for participants? And maybe Adenike, let's start with you. What from the National Urban League, what would you want to share that folks should really be aware of and draw on this summer?
So a few years ago, we actually had an opportunity to do a youth participatory action research project on young people who have become disconnected from formal education during the pandemic. And now that we're faced with a chronic absenteeism crisis, I think the film series that we ended up producing from that really highlights the needs of the recommendations that that were actually generated by those young people. So we challenged them to share resources and information that they would share with a young person who was similarly situated, was not really feeling the formal education aspect, and how they might be able to help themselves and allow others to help them. We also challenged them to share some recommendations for what adults in the building should be doing differently. And I think, again, when you're able to center young people in the conversation about them, it definitely makes it more challenging for sure. But I feel like it's also more rewarding as well, because we can get to the high quality. We can really get at the heart of what the crux of the issue is, and young people actively engage in solving their own problems and recognizing their own agency, and at the same time battling adultism. So having that intergenerational play, but again, recognizing the power and agency of young people is important.
Thank you. Andrea, what about you? What would you like to share with the group?
Yeah, I would point everybody towards our two reports. The first on what parents and families want to complement that young person-centered perspective, and then also the second report on district leaders and experiences. I know we've talked a little bit about them, but there's so much more in depth there that I think attendees can really leverage in the work that you all do. There's more in there in terms of what barriers families experience, including transportation, something I know that has come up in the chat, as well as other things families are looking for, like more flexibility in scheduling in their summer learning programs. The fact that district leaders say their programs are at or over capacity, just lots of really interesting stuff that can be of use to our bootcamp attendees.
Absolutely. Lots of great information to dive into in both of those reports. And Julie, what would you like to leave us with?
Yeah, so I mentioned how states have been providing guidance for providers. And one thing we did in our report is we compiled all of those guidance documents into a table for easy reference. So I think that's a great resource for providers. You can access it in the resources that are linked in the chat. This is a great complement to some of the guidance that Broderick Clark was mentioning in NSLA's Destination Summer Learning resource. But I hope that I encourage everyone to explore all these different planning resources that are available to them, and I hope that it'll be helpful to those in attendance today.
Thank you so much. I really want to thank you all for sharing your time, your expertise, and all of these great resources today. There's so much information to dive into that can really help set the stage to understand the context of summer, but also really create some of those practical tools as people are making decisions about their offerings, about the supports that are available to staff, to programs, and to families and students. So appreciate that, and we'll wrap up this first session of the boot camp.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So grateful for all of your insights and perspective and everything that was just dropped in that segment, without question. I'm feeling super enriched, inspired by what I just heard. Hopefully you take a moment to just let that sink in as we continue on the journey. I'm always amazed at how many resources are available when you have partners like the folks at Discovery Education. They have a host of resources that are at no cost to you. They're available to all educators, students, and community members, designed to ignite curiosity and support student achievement. These dynamic tools cover a wide range of subjects, including science. I was that kid that loved science. Science, math, literacy, social studies. From virtual field trips to interactive classroom activities, Discovery Education offers engaging content that connects classroom learning to the world outside. Built in partnership with groups such as LEGO, MasterCard, Norton's LifeLock, and more, all resources are available through the links in the chat. Shout out to everybody that's dropping conversation in the chat, by the way. Just wanted to shout you out. It's rich. We want to share with you a preview of just a few of those opportunities over the next 2 days. So first up, let's hear from Venus Williams about the Amazing Me program, a partnership with Discovery Education and Unlevier, built for 4th and 12th graders, that includes a suite of classroom and family resources focused on building self-esteem, promoting positive body image, and countering bullying. So let's learn more.
Playing sports has taught me what my body can do. Stella and Discovery Education are partners in building confidence in students in and out of the classroom. I am proud to be partnered with Dove as an ambassador for their Body Confidence Sports program. Access to this and other resources help young people see that their bodies are amazing, confident, and capable. Visit amazingmeselfesteem.com to learn more. Playing sports has
Fantastic. So I would like to invite everyone on the boot camp today, and shout out to everybody that might be listening to this as a recording somewhere down the road. But there's an opportunity to continue the relationship with the National Summer Learning Association all year long by joining one of our professional learning communities. These year-long groups work on specific issues such as libraries and literacy, college access, and arts education. There are links in the chat to the learning communities. They're no cost to you and open to all, so please join us. Again, as a person who ran programming for a very long time, I wish I had a group of people that I can just interface with and connect with, learn and grow together as practitioners in our unique subgroup. So come and join us. We want to welcome a new partner to NSLA. Sarah Landy is a former Nickelodeon leader who now leads our professional learning community for early childhood. Sarah, we appreciate you leading this discussion on learning and engagement in summer programs. So I pass the microphone to you, my friend.
Okay, thank you so much, Broderick. I'm very excited to be here for this conversation on learning and engagement. Oh, am I on mute? Sorry. In summer programs. And panelists, could you please turn on your camera? Hi, Betsey.
Hi, nice to see everyone.
Nice to see you. Hi, Estella.
Sarah, it says I cannot. This is Denise because the host had turned mine off.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Is that me technically? Is everyone? Denise, okay. Oh, good. Hi, Denise. I see you here. Okay, great. Hi, everyone. I'm so happy that you've joined us today. Can you please start off by introducing yourself and telling us a little bit about how your organization fosters hands-on learning experiences in your summer and after-school programs? Denise, why don't we start with you?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is Denise Ondrof, and I am a director of professional learning with Scholastic Education Solutions. I'm sure all of you know Scholastic for magazines and books and book fairs and all those great things. But you may not know that we have a division that's focused on supporting schools and school districts with literacy-based instructional resources and professional learning. And that's the team that I am on. And I'm just very excited to be here today to talk about summer learning and engagement. And when we think about providing opportunities for students to, use their voice and engage, Scholastic's really always been about helping students find their voice and use that voice, whether it's through books or current event magazines or other tools, and knowing that we need to give students a choice about how they learn. But when you think about creating that environment, especially over summer, we want them to have experiences in a rich culture of literacy that encourage that engagement, that encourage that lifelong learning, for a love of reading and writing, just to name a few. And so when we look at those summer environments, we want those diverse and engaging books and resources, which Scholastic has in abundance, but we want that community involvement. We know collaboration is extremely important through family and community engagement, through literacy resources, or even professional learning. And then another piece that we really look at in terms of summer engagement and student choice is around building students' home libraries, and just how important it is for them to be able to pick books that go home with them and stay at home with them, to keep them reading, actively learning, and being inspired to learn to love reading over the summer. And then through some of our summer programs, we really want them to have experiences that tap into other aspects, maybe even of their life. So even our summer programs that are built like a summer camp have campfires and bunk time and those types of things to really try to bring those experiences to life for them, even though they have an academic focus. So thank you for including us.
Great, thank you. And Betsey, could you please introduce yourself and your organization?
Yes, first of all, thank you so much, Sarah and the great team at NSLA for pulling this together. And thank you all to the over 500 summer leaders who are here today. It's great to be in community with you. MESHED is a newer organization, and I'm really honored and delighted to be here sharing this webinar with Scholastic and the National 4-H Council. We are an innovative curriculum design shop in Brooklyn, New York, and we've worked all over the world. And we are passionate about hands-on learning experiences, particularly for teens and tweens, that build the skills of the future through creative engagement with new and safe technologies. I am a learning designer by trade. I've worked and led a large-scale educational R&D in both the private and public sector for 30 years. And about 10 years ago, I felt very strongly that more students needed hands-on learning experiences. And it's important, I think, to have a common working definition of what we mean by hands-on. At MESHED, we literally mean hands on materials in the form of journals, collages, a whole bunch of like easy to use and easy to scale up art kits. And we combine it uniquely with new technologies. So we offer, and we have for the last 5 years, scalable project-based learning courses for grades 4 through 9. We call them action labs. And they are designed to build community and scale the skills of the future. Digital literacy, and not only digital literacy, digital creativity, critical thinking, media literacy, and the kind of confidence or to have fun with new technologies. So these courses that we offer, these action labs, we're offering 4 this summer. They are podcasting courses, a very vibrant and wonderful course in podcasting. Our newer course in digital animation with AI. One of our older courses that students have loved called The Art of the Graphic Novel. And the last course that we offer, though, you can go on our website and see a bunch more. And I think my colleague is here. Thanks, Emily. We also have a Democracy Action Lab that is a good one for civics. I'd also like to say that we're a very data-driven organization. We're young, but we've been working for the last four years around the world. And we have a lot of data that shows that young middle schoolers are engaged in our programming. Over 91% of the students surveyed who've worked with our courses have found them engaging or highly engaging. And 92% have found that they grow their digital skills. Again, thanks for being here, and I'd love to tell you more. There's lots of information in the
Can't wait to hear more. Estella, could you please introduce yourself?
Thank you. I'm Estella McCollum. I oversee educator product innovation at the National 4-H Council. It's a pleasure to be here today and to get to know you all. At 4-H, we are dedicated to empowering young people through hands-on learning experience that foster growth, creativity, and leadership. While 4-H has a rich history, a long history of educational programs, we have a flagship program that's newer. It's Clover by 4-H, and it is designed to provide young people with tools and opportunities that they need to explore interests and develop essential life skills. Clover by 4-H is a free online learning platform that offers a wide variety of activities and projects that encourage experiential learning. The content on Clover, much like all other 4-H content, is developed by land-grant university professionals, ensuring that the activities are grounded in research and science, as well as the best practices in youth development. From science and technology to agriculture and the arts, our programs ensure that youth engage in meaningful, real-world experiences and inspire curiosity and a love for learning. By participating in Clover by 4-H, young people not only gain knowledge, but they're building confidence, resilience, and a sense of community, all in a digital platform that can be leveraged in any, whether it's an after school, an in-classroom, home environment. It is a free tool for educators, youth, and their families.
Wow, that all sounds so exciting. I'd love to hear more, as I'm sure everyone else would. Betsey, could you tell us a little bit about how Mesh Ed creates these positive learning environments where youth can develop their voice, then share their voice, and feel truly connected to what they're learning in your program? I think you're on mute. Yeah.
Thanks for that, Sarah. So I'd love to just walk everyone through the student experience in an ideal Mesh Ed implementation for summer. And again, because we're really focusing on students in rising grades 5 through 9, we're really thinking a lot. We've gone deep into the research, right, about how to spark and ignite teens and tweens excitement, natural excitement about learning. And the first part of that we feel is choice and voice. So an ideal mesh ed implementation would offer students a choice, right? That's why we offer at a very low price point four different mesh ed courses each summer. So ideally, the whole learning process would be ignited by students choosing the Mesh Ed Action Lab course that they're working on. Then the courses are designed, it's a digital curriculum, so everything is introduced through slide decks with a lot of embedded content. And there are 4 stages in the learning architecture of a Mesh Ed course. And each of those stages actually offers students, again, agency and choice and voice in what they're doing. So let's say it's the podcast, right? A student has selected the podcast because they're, interested perhaps in digital journalism. They look always very important at student models, right? There's an NPR National Podcasting Challenge. They listen to other podcasts by young people their own, and then they choose what they want to do. So, and it goes all the way through to refining and editing and choosing the music, and hopefully having something at the end of a Mesh Ed course that those students can submit to the NPR National Podcasting Challenge. So that's, that gives you one example of a kind of hands-on approach to learning, but also that's like wedded to a hands-on approach to using those cutting edge digital tools.
Yeah, and I imagine that choice is really empowering in terms of them deciding what they want to spend their time learning and really focusing on. Denise, how does Scholastic really cultivate the students that they serve, their voice, and also just makes them feel really connected to the books that you provide?
Yes, and I touched on this a little bit before as well, but I'm going to share a little bit about 2 specific tools and how that, brings in the hands-on, the student voice and choice and engagement. First, we have 2 summer programs that are used in schools, in boys and girls clubs, and other organizations that are looking to support our learners over the summer. And they're called Math Camp and Lit Camp. These programs revolve around what a summer sleepaway camp might feel like. And with, I mentioned bunk time, where they do independent reading, and we have all kinds of fun ways to incorporate that sense of fun in camp and summer into learning so that it really feels different than school. We're incorporating literacy and math skills through those particular programs, but they come with all kinds of books for read alouds, books for independent choice. They come with manipulatives and other resources that get students immersed in talking about, learning about, collaborating with their peers, and doing a range of different activities around, the skill building in math and in reading. We also have different take-home summer book programs. One of them specifically is called My Book Summer, and it's built to allow districts, schools, or community organizations to send packs of books home with students to build their home libraries, as I mentioned. It comes with a family resource guide, and they can even be customized to allow students to self-select. So tapping into their interests, tapping into maybe background knowledge so that they're getting to build that home library with books that they picked. Of course, we have prepackaged ones as well, but it's really nice when it comes to that student choice and voice to allow them to pick those books that are going to build their home libraries.
Great, exciting. Estella, could you talk a little bit about how the Clover program helps youth develop their voice and feel connected to their learning?
Absolutely. So I think one thing that's important to understand is that 4-H content, especially what's on Clover 4-H, is really spark-based learning. It's to help youth identify and discover what things that are interesting to them and to figure out how to explore that further. On top of that, we prioritize creating environments where youth can share their voice and find deeper meaning in the learning by integrating positive youth development principles. We refer to that as PYD for short, into all of the programs. And PYD emphasizes the strengths and potentials of young people, focusing on providing opportunities, fostering positive relationships, supporting youth and developing skills that they need to thrive. And one of the foundations of that is creating a spark to build upon that, so whatever's interesting them, build upon that. We use that PYD rubric to evaluate our activities, which includes criteria such as youth thriving indicators. They're essential for creating meaningful, impactful learning experiences. We also seek feedback from youth on the design and the development to make sure that the activities on the platform are fun and engaging. We do a lot of in-platform user studies as well as outside and looking at analytics and how youth are engaging in the platform, as well as feedback from the educators that are utilizing that platform. It's really all about creating an environment where youth can share their voice, find deeper meaning, create projects that they can then present to their groups, involve their communities, their clubs, or whatever environment that they're utilizing the platform in, really bringing others along with them on their journey.
Yeah, I love that idea of getting feedback from the youth that are in the programs. And that's kind of related to the question I was going to ask next, in terms of how do you make sure that your programs are inclusive and relevant to the lives of the youth that you serve? So Estella, that's really great that you're getting feedback from them. I'd love to hear if there's anything else that you do that you feel like really helps connect with the youth that are part of these programs.
Yeah, so we know in order for it to be impactful, it needs to resonate with their experiences, their backgrounds, their interests. So we've designed it to create that hands-on experience to be both inclusive and relevant to the lives of the youth that we're serving. And part of that PYD rubric is making sure that we're using the language and environment so that there is it is inclusive by nature, and it allows that youth to feel and create a connection with the content that they're learning, and being able to apply that in their home, in their school, in their community. We also make sure that educators can access a wealth of resources that support hybrid learning techniques, allowing them to reach more students and keep them engaged beyond the classroom when you have a classroom full of kids that have a variety of interests, really making sure that there's different pathways to explore that. It provides ready-to-use educational content and resources to help determine how the platform and the content can be useful. There's a whole resource tab that has that built out, and it's based on science and best practices and the research that we've done within the broader educator market, not just 4-H educators, but we've reach out to homeschool parents, in classroom educators, out of school educators and youth mentors and other youth organizations that leverage the platform to make sure that the different varieties and environments that they are using it in, that their youth's needs are represented so that it is easier for them to be able to access these free resources that we've developed.
Well, that's great. Betsey, could you speak to a little bit about how MeshEd develops experiences that are also inclusive and relevant to the youth that you're serving?
It's such an important topic, particularly as we're thinking so much together about sparking interest and bringing students back into learning environments with excitement. So yeah, I mean, for teens and tweens, they will vote with their feet. They will not come back to the program. They will take off and they won't engage. So I really applaud the Clover program at 4-H for bringing young people into the actual building process, right, of the learning experience. That's so important. And we do that too at MESH-Ed. We have young people, middle schoolers and high schoolers, who work with us throughout the year to give us feedback on the courses that we're building. And you'll actually see them featured, right, as sort of, model MCs with the curriculum at various places in the courses. So that's a really important way. The other thing that we do is we leave space in the curriculum itself for local engagement. And there are two things that I'll just cite. Like, one is that our courses really are designed to be very joyous, super fun career exploration courses. And so we have what we call local guest experts, and some are recorded. They could be digital animators from around the world, often who actually started getting paid for their craft when they were in high school. And then we invite and we work with our summer partners to build community, to bring in local guest experts from the community. So we will work with you to find local podcasting shops, local game designers, right, who could come in and actually visit and mentor the students as they're working through the content in a MESH-Ed course. And then the final thing is family engagement or community engagement in that way, caregiver engagement. As I mentioned, MESH-Ed's at the back of MESH-Ed's curriculum design is research around project-based learning. And this research goes back to the 1970s. And students who have gone through an authentic project-based learning cycle are generally very excited. They'll certainly be a little nervous, and we'll help you support them with that, but they're excited to share their work with the community at the end of a course. So we encourage and we support our summer partners to have a kind of publishing celebration right at the end, where students can share their work in some form. Not every student is going to want to get up there and speak on stage, but maybe with a friend or maybe with a caring adult. So I think bringing the families in remotely by Zoom, we help you with that, or if they can come in person to celebrate at the end of the course, we find that helps with a kind of broader sense of inclusiveness with the young learners at the center, right, of a celebration.
Oh, fantastic. Denise, could you also talk a little bit about what Scholastic does to create inclusive and relevant learning experiences for the youth that they serve?
Yes, to make summer or even after school programs more intentional and impactful, it is really essential that particular elements, which we've all been touching on, are there and really resonate with the experiences and the backgrounds and the interests of the students that we're serving. And so through our summer programs or book opportunities, we really try to make sure that there's meaningful instruction that's happening so that we're developing those skilled readers and that it's very responsive to their needs. So there's differentiation opportunities. There's support for families at home for what they can also do at home. As a second piece, we really, again, back to, the voices and the choice is, again, so instrumental. So we really try to engage and motivate them that way. In addition, looking at cultural relevance is important because we want to make sure our students are represented well, whether it's in the books or whether it's in the curriculum, so that they are either seeing themselves and they're relating to that learning. The hands-on piece, of course, we've talked about that a lot, all three groups, and how important that is. And for us, whether it's, manipulatives in math or it's role playing in Lit Camp, it's so essential that they're active learners, especially over the summer. Looking at environments, we want it to be very inclusive and adaptive. And again, having those differentiated learning opportunities is so important, or that self-select option with books. And I know MESH-Ed just talked about this too, but a social emotional component to a summer program is really integral. And it is something that's integrated into our math camp and our Lit camp. All of the books and activities are tied to what we call 7 strengths: belonging, curiosity, friendship, kindness, confidence, courage, and hope. And research shows how more effective learning is for students when they can relate to what's happening in school or to cultural contexts and experiences. And we really want them to feel that sense of belonging when they're there over the summer, because it does help the program and their experience just be so much more impactful. And then kind of maybe that last little pillar that we look at for impactful instruction and inclusive instruction is, how do we go about promoting lifelong learning? And for Scholastic, a lot of that is centered around reading, right? Helping them learn how to love to read for pleasure, which we try to promote through both programs, and giving them the time to pick what they want to read, have that time during a summer program, but then obviously encourage that at home as well.
Thank you. Fantastic. So just in closing, what is one key takeaway or resource that you would like to share with everyone today? Estella, could you share something with us?
Sure. I think that, my big takeaway would just be encouraging you to check out the platform Clover by 4-H and looking at the breadth of variety of activities. There's 21 different content areas that are available on there, and almost 300 activities, with 110 of those being highly interactive. And it's an environment that's really designed to help youth get excited about that spark-based learning, finding purpose and meaning, and really ultimately discovering career potentials and following through. And with it being a free resource, just looking at that to help youth identify what's interesting and exciting to them is just a great place to start.
Denise?
Yes, I think the big takeaway for us is that students need an opportunity to engage with learning in some way, shape, or form over the summer, right? They need access to materials. They need access to books that are going to keep them reading and learning all summer. And whether that's because we want to help them make some gains, or whether we're just trying to prevent summer slide, or we're really wanting to give them new and different learning opportunities, we want to make sure that those are available to them, whether at home or at school or at the local library or in a community center. And so our solutions are really geared toward that, giving options, giving opportunities for families and students to keep that learning going, whether at home or at school or somewhere out in their community. So we do even have opportunities for public libraries and community organizations. We have library literacy partnerships to help support summer programs with books and book collections and activities. So just lots of ways to motivate students and families to read and engage with learning over the summer. So again, my big takeaway is they need these opportunities. So we've got to make them known and out there so that schools and organizations and homes can take advantage.
Thank you. And Betsey?
I'm going to end on a theme that we've heard a bunch about, but I just want to land on it again for our adolescents. The learning experiences, these spark learning experiences, they are smart. They have to have real world relevance, right? They have to, young people need to be able to see at this age an exciting, super fun pathway, right, in the learning, and really not just to high school, not just to sort of the next thing in the school pathway, but the life pathways. So real world relevance is I think super important. The other thing I want to say is that I just want to emphasize that we've worked with lots of amazing tech partners over the years to take those students' interests, right? We know that that students are obsessed with, screens, quite unfortunately, right? But we feel that summer is a really good opportunity to kind of take that interest and channel it in a positive direction, right? directions where learning very safe digital tools, right, can amplify and enhance students' abilities to tell their own stories, right, in a variety of forms that will serve them well at the next stage of their education, certainly in their careers, right, as in podcasting and coding for game design, and in digital animation and graphic storytelling. So again, real world relevance and like these real world skills that they already have, but let's work together to put them to much better and safer and more creative use.
Well, thank you so much, Betsey, Denise, and Estella. This has been a really fabulous conversation. Thank you. I think we're at time actually right now, so just perfect ending.
Wow. Youth, voice, choice, agency, without question. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sarah, Denise, Betsey, Estella. Thank you. Appreciate you so much, without question. So much is resonating. Hopefully it's resonating with you. I'm seeing all kinds of goodness once again in the chat, so thank you. Right now, we're going to launch a brief video from one of our program partners, Hoot, and their partnership with Oakland Unified School District.
Diversity is something that makes Oakland and OUSD such a beautiful place to work, and such a great community where we are invested in literacy and literacy outcomes.
We really are trying to break the cycle of poverty and poor performance in schools, and that starts with literacy.
My name's Alicia Arenas. I'm the Executive Director of Elementary Instruction for Oakland Unified School District.
My name is Natasha Flint Moore, and I am the proud principal at Reach Academy in the Oakland Unified School District.
In OUSD, we do have many students who are performing below grade level in reading. And so this is a major challenge that we're facing in the district. We've partnered with Hoot as a Tier 3 one-to-one tutoring program across many of our elementary schools in OUSD.
Some of the challenges are really ensuring that all of our scholars are reading by 3rd grade. So we're really thrilled and excited to partner with Hoot Reading to really provide this targeted support.
Hoot is very intentional about how they are assessing children in the beginning, progress monitoring throughout, making sure the students are getting what they need. My name is Elia Inslee Bradley, and I am a TSA or Teacher on Special Assignment here at Reach.
Another challenge that we face is, of course, we have students coming in with different backgrounds linguistically.
Most students learn to read first in Spanish. When they transfer those skills to English is a big lift for them, and there's so many structures built into Hoot that really support that. My name is Micaela Morse, and I'm a TSA here at ICS, and so many different things have been useful about Hoot to have the one-on-one where students are really getting to work exactly at their level and receive instruction exactly where they need.
Unfortunately, we are stretched thin, so I do appreciate that I can have 15 kids receiving one-on-one instruction. It's amazing. And they're going to another highly qualified teacher that knows how to build rapport and make them feel comfortable and really push them when they need it.
Makes a really big difference to know that the people both are qualified educators and they're working with a sound program. They go through decoding practice, they go through reading a text, they have opportunities for practicing comprehension.
The intentional focus on comprehension that Hoot does is something that actually attracted me to the program. In order to build skilled readers, we need an intentional focus on both decoding and comprehension, especially the language development around vocabulary for our English language learners.
The students are excited to come, they remember their teachers, they learn things about their teachers, they make that connection, and that makes a big difference.
Literacy is a priority. Dr. George Washington Carver said, education is the key to unlock the golden door to freedom.
When students don't have access or they're unable to read, it not only creates a barrier socially, but economically as well. Literacy provides students with the choice. So that individualized support that Hoot offers really ensures that we are holding true to our vision and our mission and ensuring strong readers.
Wow, wow, wow. Education is key to unlock the golden doors of freedom. That just hit me right there, for sure. So I appreciate that, Hoot, without question. So as we continue to take our journey through the Destination Summer Learning Guide, we're going to switch our focus to leadership and staff development. Research, of course, consistently shows that effective summer learning programs, those ones that are able to get young people to achieve those youth outcomes, are staffed by high quality staff. Quality programs pay attention to how staff interact with one another, whether or not staff feel a sense of ownership or belonging within the program. How frequently do staff are invited to make decisions and provide their feedback on program experiences, and whether staff have the support to be resilient in the face of challenges when working with children and families. So I'm so looking forward to this panel coming up for sure, because it really focuses on how program leaders can build a sense of belonging, agency, active engagement, and reflection in staff through their recruitment, training, and professional development practices. And to do this, I get the humble honor and privilege of handing over the microphone to my partner in service to all of you at NSLA, our manager of partnerships, Ms. Natalia So.
Thanks so much, Broderick.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. Welcome to our last panel of the day. As our panelists come on screen, it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Natalia Sol, and like Broderick said, I'm part of the NSLA team. I focus on national partnerships, and I want to extend a warm welcome to our amazing panelists who have made time today and to spend some wisdom with us and are willing to share their lessons learned to help us all improve our summer learning games. So with no further ado, welcome everybody. Hello, Nate. Hi, Karen, Ali, Dr. Levitt. Welcome, welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you so much for being here. I'd love each of you to introduce yourselves and also your organization, and tell us a little bit about where you sit in the ecosystem of summer, so we can understand what lens you're speaking to us from, and what role you play in staff development for your programs. You want to kick us off, Ali?
Sure. Thank you. An honor and pleasure to be here with all of you. And thank you, Natalia, Broderick. Always a pleasure to be with our NSLA family. I'm Ali Ricketson. I serve as the Vice President of Youth Development for the YMCA of Greater Boston. I've been with our association a little over 15 years now, but in the field of child development, education, day camping for over 20. Starting my very first job to see if I like children was a camp counselor. And so it hooked me pretty hard, and a privilege to be there. And so now really get the honor to be a part of an organization that gets to sit in this space and be with the educators, be with the schools, be with the families, and that connector and that convener. And I think, my role, as you asked now, is to really open the doors for our leadership team to be innovative, be creative, be thoughtful, intentional with the over 25 day camp programs we have across Greater Boston, with about 16 of those being really high intervention, very hands-on summer learning academies. So we see the blend of both over here, a very traditional day camps in the woods with the hiking, the archery, the ropes, as well as the real thought and impact around how we make the most of our summer space and take advantage of that opportunity gap and really provide a quality experience for our diverse group of campers that we have the privilege of serving.
Thank you so much, Ali. I'm going to toss it over to Karen.
Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Rutledge Bell, and I work for the Alabama Department of Education. And one of my responsibilities is to support summer learning. As a matter of fact, we have an office called Office of Extended Learning. Right now, there's only one specialist in that office and one administrator, me. But we are excited about the fact that we are getting to impact and be support partners alongside our school districts, and also building a space where our community partners feel engaged in the work also. Our major focus on summer has been around, we have a literacy law and all of those things in Alabama, so it's been elementary. So we are excited that we're going to get a chance to really bridge from the elementary grades through the middle and the high school grades.
Thank you, Karen, and congrats on the NAEP scores. You know, you were that shimmering light of hope there with your improved math scores to Alabama. Keep up the good work. Nate, hi, welcome.
Thank you for having me. My name is Nate Shore. I'm the program director here at the Bayview Foundation, which is in Madison, Wisconsin. Real quick, Bayview is a nonprofit organization that does two things. First, Bayview provides affordable housing to about 500 residents here in Madison. Then the nonprofit also oversees a community center that provides supportive services to the residents that live within the in and around the community at Bayview. So my role at Bayview is to oversee the programs and services that happen at the community center. And as it relates to all of this, you know, typically during the school year, our programs look like out of school time programming, as well as other parent and senior activities that happen during the day. And then during the summer, we really shift a lot of our focus to being full day programming. So what that looks like is a summer camp in the afternoon in the traditional vein that you would imagine, going outside, experiencing recreation and art and all that wonderful stuff, which is so important. And then we also have a partnership with the school district to bring in school district teachers to provide summer school on site within the community here. So, and then we also, for our teens, we have a youth employment program where our teens learn to get their first job here at Bayview and learn job skills here within the community. So my job in overseeing that is supervising a team of program coordinators who oversee those specific programs. So my role is in a lot of like supervision and guidance and coaching of the leaders of those different programs.
Thank you, Nate, and thank you for all the incredible work you're doing in Madison. Dr. Levitt, please.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for involving us. I'm Ann Levitt. I am Assistant Executive Director with AASA, the School Superintendents Association. So, of course, we have a major role to play in this. Now, today, I'm also proud to share that my colleague, Brian Jaffe, is also well known in your circles. He is, of course, our representative along with Kayla, who does extensive work in supporting out-of-school learning. And of course, that includes summer experiences. My role at AASA is to work directly with superintendents, particularly in transformative work. And of course, that includes learning outside of the school day and working with partners. I'm also very proud to say that in my former role as superintendent, I was instrumental in ensuring that we created in the school district additional summer programming, summer opportunities for children. We recognize that not all of our community partners could meet the needs of the 38,000 students that we had. So we created our own learning programs in the summer and served thousands of children as well, because every child needs that opportunity. So I'm excited to be here today to talk about supporting this recruitment and professional learning for summer staff, because that is key to ensuring that it's more than what it used to be. Many, many, many years ago, it was more of just making sure the students or the learners had someplace to be. Nowadays, and I think it's really important, that we ensure that we capture every moment that our young people are with us, because they're learning all the time. And we want to make sure that we provide some really wholesome and positive experiences for them during the summer months as well. So thank you for inviting us. Thank you for doing this work.
Thank you, Dr. Levitt. And thank you so much for being a great partner of AASA Superintendents Association. We could not do the work that we're doing in the summer learning space without your support. And releasing this new Gallup survey is like our colleague Andrea said, a sneak peek into what's coming and being released to the community at large next week. I'd love to talk a little bit about staff culture with all of you, and feel free, anybody can answer this question, but we'd like to discuss a little bit on the reality that summer programs have such a short window to build the sense of community. And please share with our attendees what strategies have helped your staff significantly and quickly feel like they belong. And I'm looking for tangible takeaways that our attendees can implement in their programs.
So I'm happy to start. You know, I think one of the reasons we were successful and continue to be successful in our conversations with our superintendents is reminding them that we must recruit as intentionally for summer programming as we do for all year long. You know, we're looking for a special kind of person. You know, summer is a time that teachers want their rest, but there are some who really have this intense interest in being with our students for a longer period of time. So we need to be very, very intentional. We need to be clear from the beginning what kind of staff we're looking for, what kind of learning goals we expect to meet. And we also need to be just as intentional once we recruit them to stay in touch with them, keep them encouraged, and make sure that they are reminded repeatedly of how critical they are to us meeting our mission and our goals for summer learning. It's a critical time. They also get tired during that summer program, even though it's short-lived. So we need to stay in touch with them and need to make sure that they understand how critical they are to the success of the children and the success of the program. So I think it starts with recruitment, being intentional, planning the time, staying in touch, and making sure that they know how important they are, and keeping our fingers and our eyes on them because they are the path to the success of the program. So I think it all is about intentionality, scheduling so that we are continually in conversation with staff, making sure that people feel appreciated and that they have been tapped to do this work. It's a special calling that we're asking them to engage in. So I think it's all about being intentional, recruiting specifically, keeping them engaged, and letting them know that we care about them just as we care about the children.
I love that. Thank you so much. That resonates so loudly with me. I'm a wife of a PE teacher, and he does do work in the summer. And yes, it is physically and spiritually draining work, and you've got to have a real dedication and passion to it. And I love the setting of being really clear on the type of individual we want to recruit and keeping them engaged. And NSLA is thrilled to step up to offer platforms throughout the year to keep your staff engaged. Anybody else would like to jump in? Allie, go ahead.
Like we had a finger roulette, Karen, to pop off mute. I think, I mean, Dr. Levitt, you spoke so well to the intentional onboarding, like the really that pre-summer connection and how important that is. I guess, you know, there's so many of us that want to add whatever nuggets we can. I think the few that I was thinking of is really around creating some rituals and shared experiences. As you mentioned, it's so quick of a time, and what I've seen across programs, and certainly, you know, myself over the years, are when you can highlight those, you know, quick day checks or morning huddles, end of day reflections, that time when you're able to take an intentionality, as you said. I feel like that will be a common theme throughout our time together, of just making that space and that time with the team is so valuable. The other one that we've seen to see some real results is around more of a mentor or buddy system and teaming up, knowing at every summer program, whether it's have an academic focus, it has a theme focus, a skill focus, having those tenured leaders buddy up with your newer counselors, your newer teachers, really creates some strong dynamics, some strong culture building, and I think you see an intentional return. So just considering what that structure could and should look like. And then lastly, really just thinking about the leadership that really models inclusion. So how is leadership being engaged with the team day to day, with the students, kind of boots on the ground, and having that presence? Again, that return you'll get from really being a part of your program is going to be massive.
I love that, Ali.
And I'll add to what Alan just shared, and also what Ann just shared. One of the things that we were intentional about is we have a K-12 summer guidance document that we create from the State Department, because we sit in to see where we can offer support, because we're not in the programs with them on a daily basis. So in that section, in the guidance document, we have a section called teacher recruitment and retention, being proactive, the kinds of things that you guys both have mentioned, and also in there, really that during camp time, really cultivating that culture and climate where the staff feels like they are a team to be supported and that they are not on an island by themselves within the program. That visibility of, hey, the buddy system that you talked about, Aileen, but also about the fact that I have a person, I know these people that I'm with this summer, and we are a team and we're going to support each other during all of the transitions, during all of somebody got bus left or somebody did not get to a program on time. We want to make sure that all the people on the team feel like they're a part of the team. And the other piece is this staff recognition. We don't do a good job of staff recognition in the summertime, and I think that's a critical piece also, because they need to be recognized for the hard work that they're doing. It may be that you are providing an extra incentive in your program because Miss Teacher, she came back for 3 years in a row to teach in summer learning. What an awesome opportunity to be able to give her some type of plaque or award to say, hey, you've been in the summer program with us for 3 years as a dynamic teacher or a dynamic caregiver or a dynamic partner, whatever the piece is. But really recognizing their longevity in the program, recognizing their hard work daily. We have student of the day. Who's the teacher of the week? Who's the teacher of the day? How are we looking at that? Are we providing opportunities for them to network among themselves as they are dismissing kids and really, like I said, really becoming a family partnership within those spaces? We highly encourage that, and of course, is a part of our guidance document also.
Thank you so much, and that's from a statewide perspective. So that's super important that you're building in that common language and those best practices. And at the end of it, I think at the core of our human existence, we want to be seen and acknowledged. So thank you so much, Karen. Nate, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, just to add something, and I think it's not too dissimilar from what other folks have been saying. And I really do feel like, again, this relates to recruitment. It relates to, opportunities for connection within the staff. And I think the first step in that I think we try to do here is to try to see that like those learning objectives or whatever the objectives of your program are not separate. It's not the relationship building and the culture building is not just this sort of like separate other hopeful thing that you can do. It's actually integral to whatever the like other more tangible outcome that you're trying to achieve. And it's like really remembering that that's a true value and a skill and a necessary tenet of that program. Because I think as humans, I think we're hardwired for community, right? We're hardwired for connection. And I think in any learning situation, whether it's social emotional learning, whether it's more academic or literacy or math focused, like we learn in community, right? And we learn through social connection and gain confidence in that. So I think remembering that in the design and the construction of the program, and then also naming that in the recruitment process. And I think people are hardwired and they want to do that. And so to hear that and to give people permission to be able to lean into that nature of themselves, I think really leads into people feeling not just, again, it being a tertiary thing that they're doing, but actually being something that they are skilled at, that they are capable of, and that their instincts are driving them towards, and to not shy away from and to actually lean into.
Nate, you took us right into the next topic, which is How do you encourage creating space amongst your leaders and your staff for meaningful feedback and reflection and coaching? And I think that goes hand in hand with what you just touched upon.
Yeah, and I can just, while I'm unmuted here, I can just go into that next part of it. And I do think, again, so much of this, and I think this is applicable to our program here at Bayview, but probably applicable to all different aspects of our life with these summer programs, like creativity and innovation, and honestly, the ability to and freedom to make mistakes and to learn and to grow and to do that in community with the other staff, to do that with the kids or the youth that you're working with in the program. Not what a good, failure is a great teacher, right? And I think that innovation and is not possible without failure and experimentation within that. So again, I think it's right. It's not unrelated to that sense of community, to be your authentic self and to try things that you feel genuinely motivated to do. And so again, this sense of like, how do you imbue creativity and innovation within that is you lean into people being those natural human community-oriented selves that people want to be in this. And so the more that we see that as separate, as like, I've got my math brain and I've got my social brain, the more that we separate those things, I think the more that we're doing ourselves a disservice, because all of that is so interconnected. So I think, again, it really is, like, to me, leaning into that ideology of like relationships and community are such a key part of that. And in that, I think people are going to bring their true, unique, and awesome selves into that work. And it's going to create opportunities. If people are making mistakes, what a great way to grow a leader, by being like, okay, remember how you learned, I remember a lot of the mistakes that I've made, in my experience in youth work, right? And I've learned a lot from them. And I think it's hard to pass that on just by saying, I made this mistake when I was in your shoes. I think giving people the opportunity and the right that they have to make their own unique mistakes within that, it creates so many opportunities for shared interest and connection and feedback within that.
Permission to fail. I love that. Thank you so much, Nate. And I see Dr. Levitt like bursting out with ideas and wanting to say something. So please jump in.
Yes, I mean, Nate was right on it, like 100%. So much of what we do is based on relationships. And if we go into this work, just like when we go into the school year, if we go into this work thinking only about meeting the learning goals, we're not going to make it. So we have to have that relationship with the staff. We have to have that relationship with the students to make it all work. And there's no better place to learn something. I don't call it making a mistake. Maybe we didn't execute it as well. But I think there's no better place to do that when you're in a place where you're accepted and your intentions are well received and your intentions are good. Actually, sometimes the kids don't even know what we're trying, right, Nate? They just know we're doing something different today. And one of the things that we can really depend on in those situations is making sure that people feel free to give the feedback, that they know this is something we're trying. We're looking forward to getting feedback from you so that we can make it even better next time. Or maybe we run it up the flagpole and it just doesn't fly. So we decide we're not going to try it again. I think that's the kind of community that we want. And I want to make a point too. Someone in the chat said that recruiting the right teachers is important, but recruiting the right administrative team is important as well. We have to recruit intentionally at every level, because the administrative team will also dictate in so many ways the culture of the teaching team and the support team. So we understand that that whole culture is really dependent upon everyone understanding and singing off the same sheet, that we want to create a positive learning environment for all of us. So I think it's exciting to think about the opportunity to create new and exciting opportunities for kids, but it also means learning with other adults who want to do the same thing. So thanks.
No, thank you. Allie, want to add to that?
Sure, absolutely. It's a privilege to be with such like-minded and thoughtful leaders. The couple pieces I'll add, I like so much, Nate and Dr. Levitt, what you shared, I think was we talk a lot about the value of providing context to all levels of our teams, of really the why before the how of our work. And so how relevant that still continues to be in this summer space of making sure staff really understand the purpose behind the learning goals so that then they can get really innovative and creative with the work. And another piece to just share as kind of a takeaway is really thinking about these opportunities. I mentioned the check-ins or huddles that you might be able to have with your teams, midweek, each day. Really, what can that cross-team brainstorms look like? How can you reflect on activities or lessons or days that really went well, or really to spend more time on the ones that just crashed, that you thought, gosh, I put so much time and energy into what I thought was going to be such a success. I thought there was no way the campers wouldn't just love this beyond, and it was such a flop. Really, how can I take that as such a value and an opportunity to learn from versus feeling discouraged of I failed as a counselor, as a leader, as a teacher, but more, how can I use my team and how can we work together to really create something that I'm going to get a different result in?
I love that. And I'll yield to Ms. Karen for any final thoughts on this question specifically.
Okay, one of the things that I keep thinking about as we talk about the coaching and reflection piece is that there are partners that, in our case, we have regional staff. The State Department of Education has regional staff that support our schools and our districts. And those staff are available and providing boots on the ground support even during the summertime. And I think about the fact that gives that's another eye in the building, another set of hands, another ear to listen, and another person to offer some insight into when things go well, or when those things are not going exactly how we think they should be going. Aline, you made a good point in reminding us that we all have goals for our summer learning. And sometimes Jeff and I, my partner in this work, he and I talk about sometimes you have to have thinking inside the box. And that thinking inside the box involves us all coming to an understanding about how this is going to look and sound so that our kids are engaged in the content and the time together rather than having to learn so many different parameters in the summertime, because I think that's one of the critical pieces that can get in the way. If you have kids that are transitioning from one area of the program to another area of the program, if you've got sustainable parameters in place for the kids and their learning and the adults in the building, that gives some opportunity for those things to stay constant and allows that innovation and all of those other wonderful things, creative things that happen in the summer to take place. And I know our regional staff, they are there, boots on the ground. We have literacy staff, we have school improvement staff, we have math staff, and they are an extra set of eyes and ears to provide that feedback, that coaching support during the summertime. And I hope that our districts are taking advantage of those opportunities. And we highly encourage them to use their coaches, their instructional coaches, their literacy coaches, their math coaches, all of those people in the summertime too, as people that are partners in that work that can provide some of that feedback in those coaching efforts also. So everybody at the table, partnership is key.
That don't forget who's on your bench and use everybody. Everybody gets a chance to contribute. I want to just I guess end with a round robin here and ask you all, if you were to be in front of a brand new summer learning program leader, what would your one big piece of advice be to this leader now that you have all these years of experience under your belt and you have learned the hard way many lessons of what creates the chaos and what creates the magic? Please kick us off. Nate.
Yeah, I think, it's not too dissimilar from what we've been talking about previously. And I think that, before when, Allie was talking about, learning from those flops. And again, I think that there's so much to be gained from that. There's so much to be modeled in those interactions with other staff, with other adults, with the kids in the room. Like there's a lot of learning and coaching that comes from that, whether or not we know that we're doing that. Like the youth that we're working with are learning a lot by what they see from us. And so really, my bit of advice from that is like, we are not defined by what our mistakes are. We're defined by what we learn from them, right? And I think that there is so much to be gained from that, from being, and you're not going to be able to make those mistakes if you're just completely playing it safe the whole time. So bring your authentic self to it, make mistakes, and make sure you learn from them.
Love that. Thank you so much. Dr. Levette?
I would say, in addition to what Nate said, so we can't just give one thing, right? But I would say capitalize on the skills, abilities, and the willingness of the intentionally recruited staff to make for a positive, unforgettable learning experience for children. One of the things we want the children to walk away with is, oh my God, I'm so glad that happened to me. I'm so glad I had that experience. So we want to capitalize on everything that staff brings to the table. And we want to make sure that we've done some really good matching with what we intend to accomplish and what we want our children to experience. We want to maximize that opportunity, maximize all those people that are in the room to create a magical experience for the kids, in which the kids have had a voice, the staff has had a voice, and the administrators have had a really solid hand in making sure that it all works. So I would say maximize your resources, recruit intentionally, and make every day a magical day for the kids. The relationships will make it all happen. Thanks.
I love that. I love that. And the agency and voice. Ali.
Thank you. Building off Dr. Levitt, your last line, really my thought was around prioritizing relationships first, that those skills, those logistics, they'll all follow, that really getting to know your team as individuals, what motivates them, their strengths, what inspires them, maybe what intimidates them, what they're worried about, you know, really getting that understanding and modeling the culture you want to see is going to give you that result. You show appreciation, really being transparent, and staying approachable as a leader, you're bound to have a successful summer.
Oh, walk the walk. Thank you, Ali. Karen?
Lean in and hear from everybody at the table. Don't leave a stone unturned. And I'm talking about everybody from the teachers who are going to be teaching, to our janitors, to our nurses, our administrators, everybody that's in that building, the transportation, everybody that's in that building. Lean into them and make sure that they know that they're part of that community. They're as much a part of that learning community as the children are.
Thank you. Thank you. I see the passion and dedication from each of you. Nate, you already gave us your one piece of advice. I am incredibly grateful to each and every one of you for lifting us all up and finding a place in this community to help guide through a lot of noise, a lot of goals that we all want, a lot of good intentions, and helping us find some clarity in that. And you make it sound very simple. And thanks for making it look easy. Thank you to each of you for bringing your passion today and your wisdom to this discussion. I want to encourage everyone who's looking to continue to strengthen their summer staff to please join us on the Get Ready for Summer Tour, which is coming to a city near you in the next 6 weeks. The registration link will be in the chat. And now we're going to turn it back to Broderick. Thank you so much, everybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. What a great conversation. Thank you so much for that. I'm enriched. My cup is continuing to be filled and filled and filled and filled. I hope you all having that same experience. What a terrific day on day one of our boot camp. I learned so much throughout the course of our time today. And I got tomorrow right at the forefront of my head. So I want to thank all of our amazing sponsors for making this possible. I want to thank you, our amazing sponsors, for making this possible. Without question. And it's just a preview of tomorrow when we have the unique opportunity to connect Join us right tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for a special performance by Dialect Without Question. Looking forward to that. Make sure you check out our professional learning communities. Without question. Don't forget about Summer Learning Week, July 14th through the 18th. Shout out to everybody that gave all your conversation in the chat. We appreciate you very much for being present here with your passion and your presence. Grab that QR code and get access to those resources. And we hope to see you all tomorrow for day 2 of the Summer Planning Bootcamp. See you tomorrow.